You know, the word bully has been thrown around a lot in this episode of Gypsy. Let's talk about who the real bully is. Gene, let's rock.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I like your leather jacket.
Thank you. I like yours.
Yeah.
Yours is better. I actually borrowed this from my little sister.
We're all matching.
Yeah.
Yes, we're in sync this week.
Yeah.
Last week it was
rocking. denim,
and we kind of excluded Karina, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, now I got the message. I got the
Oh my
memo.
gosh.
I guess I'll take these off now.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought this was Karina, and I thought this was Rachel. I'm joined by Sydney and Jean. Oh my God, yeah. Okay, guys.
What up?
Why don't you introduce yourselves? Tell us where we can find you on social media.
Well, I am Dr. Jean.
I was going to do that too.
My name is Karina Vargas. You guys can find me everywhere on Twitter and Instagram at KarinaXVRGS.
And I'm Rachel Goodman, aka Sydney today. And you can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Rach Goodman or Facebook at Rachel Ann Goodman.
I don't know who I am from Gypsy, but
Michael?
Michael? No, I don't know. Sam?
No.
Yeah.
I'm Dolly, okay?
Yeah.
Guys, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Ollie Dreamer. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was an amazing series. Like, I didn't think I was going to be this hooked. Please give us a like, subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, whatever. We really enjoyed discussing with you guys every single week. Leave us a comment, question. We want to keep this discussion going, even, like, hopefully we get a season 2. But, y'all,
Predictions or
we
anything
made
like
it.
that.
Yeah, please. We really enjoyed the discussion with you guys.
I just want to give a shout out. We have Emily and Joe in the chat. Thank you guys for being here.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Thank you.
And if you have any comments, feel free to write them out and I will let everyone know what you're saying.
Yes, please. And also, I want to give a shout out to Kronos Payne. In last week's episode, he left us a comment. Thank you so much. Shout out to you. We really appreciate it. Like, I cannot emphasize that enough. But guys, we made it to the finale of Gypsy. So bittersweet.
It is.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Just Went Down? General thoughts?
Just shocking.
Everything was
Oh my
shocking.
God.
It was like they gave you a piece of what could happen too, but then it didn't quite happen. And it wasn't just Jean, it was like every different character arc going on didn't quite get resolved. And it was kind of strange even for just season 1 that it would be like that, in my opinion.
They teased the hell out of us.
Yeah.
And they left us with so many unanswered
Yes.
questions. So I'm just like, then what happened to her? What happened to him? Like, what's going on?
Yes.
Like, they didn't.
Yeah.
So
Oh
that's
my
why I'm
gosh.
crossing our fingers
Yeah.
for season 2.
We'll get it. Like, I have a good feeling that we're going to get it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's doing good
Yeah.
so far.
And also, you guys, Naomi Watts is dating Michael.
Yeah.
You guys hear about that? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And also, shout out to Naomi Watts, her son, whose father is Liev Schreiber. He went to Comic-Con this which was 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago? Anyways, the son dressed up as Harley Quinn, and it was awesome. So it's awesome. Like, I really think that maybe they implemented a character like Dolly because of Naomi's own son that doesn't really go with the gender norm. So I think that's so beautiful, and I love seeing the parents like Naomi and Liv being so supportive of their child.
Yeah.
But let's get into episode 9,
Yes.
Neverland. We have so much to talk about, so little time. So Sid, she's in an apartment with Stevie, and Stevie is what kind of dogs are those?
I don't
no
know.
idea. So
they're
beautiful.
Australian shepherds, aren't they?
I think so. Mixed
But-
with something.
Yeah.
That dogs are beautiful.
Yeah, but as soon as we opened on that, I was like, okay, Sydney's lying too, because she never mentioned that she had a roommate / guy living with her. I guess she sounds like she considered herself the landlord, but still.
Because Francis is in the band. I think that's the guy who she hooked up.
Yeah.
So, and she was his landlord temporarily.
I thought it was only temporarily.
Yeah, because he's been in episodes previously.
Yeah. Like he met Jean, didn't he?
Yeah, when
and
she
so
showed up.
when that came up, I'm like, okay, well, Sydney's not that it's okay, like, or not that it's, I'm not that mad, but Sydney's not being that faithful to Jean. But,
Of course not.
But Jean's not being faithful to Sydney.
No,
but
no.
like, so I was really shocked. I was like, okay, Sydney's, really playing the field.
But was she, or was it really just like?
I'm pretty sure they hooked up.
Yeah, okay. Because at first I was kind of like, did they hook up? And then she talked about him being in the band and stuff, and I was like, well, maybe she's just helping out a friend who needs a place to crash.
I don't know. I took it like they were hooking up because
really?
he was naked and the way he was acting. The only thing that made me think that they weren't was because she was like, yeah, leave the toilet seat down this time. Something like that. I was like, okay, that's kind of just like a roommate kind of thing to say. But everything else,
You felt more.
I think that they hooked up.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure she mentioned that they hooked up previously, Sydney, in like a really early episode.
Yeah.
But what stood out in this scene was Tom, like, knocked on the door. He's apparently Francis's dealer. Okay.
Yeah.
And now Sydney, she's kind of like, okay, well, Francis, can you get me a hookup? I kind of want to buy from him. So I'm like, okay. So now we're seeing the Allison storyline cross over into the Sydney, like kind of one of the main plots. So I'm like, okay, this is coming together. I'm terrified what's going to happen next.
Exactly. No, yeah, like when that happened, I was like, this is what we were all kind of predicting, where the storylines are going to cross each other.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe this is the beginning of everyone kind of meeting each other or somehow being in each other's lives.
An explosion.
Yeah.
A catastrophe. But Jean and Michael, they're on their way. They seem okay, after that slap. But they go their separate ways.
I'm still laughing about that.
Goodness, that was intense. But
Don't ever go to my coffee shop again.
oh, iconic. But they go their separate ways. Michael is seen getting coffee. Everyone's like kind of laughing at him or like giving him weird looks. No one's looking at him in the eye. And he spots Alexis from afar with some fine man.
Another guy.
Yeah. And so, okay.
It's like, who is she
He's
not?
like, what is going on? And I'm like, Alexis, you get around, girl.
She just looks so bad as a character at this point.
So I'm just like, and I was kind of like Team Alexis, I wanted to ship them like you were shipping
Yeah.
them. So, but like Alexis, and I already know like she has something to do, and we later find out that she was the one who spread the rumor. But Jean and Sid, they end up like meeting up somewhere and they hook up, and she mentions that Sam blocked her on Instagram. Like, what did you guys think? Like, that's such a well, right there and then, she posted that Instagram of her and Jean.
Yeah.
So, what did you guys think of this whole scene?
I still don't know, like, how Sydney didn't find out that Jean deleted Sam's number off of her phone, because if she's looking at how he blocked her on Instagram and all this stuff, it's like, how has she not noticed that his number is not on there as well?
Yeah.
So that was kind of something that I was having a hard time.
That, and also with the whole Instagram picture thing, just the fact that Sydney would do that is kind of messed up to begin with. But then the other thing, and that's like, I'm not Team Jean or anything, but that was one moment where I actually felt bad for her. But
I was like sweating for her.
yeah, but I'm surprised Sam didn't see it, even though they might have been blocked on Instagram. Just the fact that the picture was up there at all.
Yeah.
Just it could be everywhere now. It might not just be Instagram.
And at that moment, I thought that's why he blocked
Yeah.
her, because he saw that, and I'm like, oh no, she's probably gonna have another session with him. He's gonna fight her. Oh my god. But Allison's mom actually visits Jean, and we learn a lot in the next scene, which is very shocking. We find out that Allison's actually been lying to Jean, and we thought that Allison was like this innocent character who's being abused, but she's lying to Jean. She lied about her mom's health. Her mom's perfectly healthy apparently, and she lied that about staying with her mom, and her mom hasn't seen her, and so Allison's missing. So I don't know what's going on with Allison. What did you guys think?
at that point, I realized that Allison was really up to no good. And that was
Yeah.
the one storyline that I thought Jean was really doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Exactly.
at the same time, she put herself in that situation because she should have known that there are boundaries as a therapist. And if you're going to overstep those boundaries, sometimes there are repercussions. So I felt bad for her in one sense because she had been lied to really badly by someone she was trying to help. But in another, she shouldn't have been so reckless. And I think
Yeah.
that's a lot of her problem is that she's super reckless and not able to always pick up the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know. I felt bad for Jean too, especially opening up her home to Allison and letting her
Yeah.
stay there because she supposedly didn't have a home to go to. So it's like that kind of sucks when Jean is actually trying to do some good for somebody
Yeah.
instead of lying to them. It's like it backfires in a way where now the patient is actually lying to her.
Yeah, so Jean looks horrible at this point. The private investigator gets involved, and it's really disheartening for Jean because like she opened up her home that contains so much of her past to this girl she barely knows.
Yeah.
That we find out is going behind her back, doing some weird shit, and oops, sorry. Sorry about that. Explicit.
You know, it was interesting too because her boss, when he confronted her, he even mentioned, "Well, I just feel like you're breaking the boundaries and you're getting too close to your patients. I feel like it's basically a pattern." And I think that what we're starting to see is that this is definitely not the first time Jean has been like this, and it won't be her last time being like this either.
Yeah. And talking about like who was he?
I think it was her boss.
Yeah, like her boss was telling her, "Oh, well, how was she doing? Like, did you see any signs of it?" And she was like, "No, like she was making progress and all this stuff."
Yeah.
But clearly, she had two different notebooks. One was all a lie, saying of how great her progress was, and the other one wasn't. So it's like that kind of. It looks bad on Jean too for hiding what really was going on.
Yeah, she tries to go find Allison. Allison isn't at the apartment. She like sees that her stuff's been snooped, the tapes, and also she finds out that Tom moved. So what is going on with these two characters? But going to another storyline, Jean is seen reading Alexis's story. That was like seen in previous episodes. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Jean's gonna do something sneaky. But she's actually an appointment for Dolly, and in this scene, like I was like wondering what was going on because there's this topic brought up about gender dysmorphia, and Jean's lying again, and the doctor recommends meds. So I'm like, okay, this is probably Jean's trying to get more meds. I think what did you guys think?
Well, but she was saying at first, it seemed like she was pushing back against it. I mean, it sounds like Michael is more or less the parent who doesn't want it.
Yeah.
But she didn't seem too gung-ho about it either.
Yeah.
And she almost seemed to me like she felt a little insulted that they would say that about her child.
Yeah.
I think I did feel like she was also kind of like not for all the meds, but some part of her was for the meds just to help her when it came to like her school.
Yeah.
And, because the other doctor, the therapist, was saying how like Dolly could have like ADHD and stuff and how that, was affecting her schoolwork. And so that's when Jean was like, okay, well, kind of, I'm still not for all the medication and stuff, but that could actually help her.
And then there's a scene later with her and Michael arguing, like you guys said, Michael's like here for it, or not, he's not here for it. Well, Jean is kind of like, but I was kind of thinking like, okay, well, maybe Jean just wants those meds for herself. Like she's gonna like, okay, yeah, we'll take the meds. And then she takes them herself. So I don't know. I don't know how that would work, if that would affect her at all.
I could
But
see
she
her
has
doing
her new Michelle friend
Oh
now,
my God.
that she's like,
Which
I couldn't even see that.
Yeah.
that threw me for a loop,
Yeah.
honestly, because I thought she hated Michelle. I thght Michelle hated her.
It was like,
No.
it was like, here you go.
They're
Like,
Yeah, she's
They're
like, I have a whole
frenemies.
like storage or
Oh.
a bin or something.
And yet Jean already knows about that girl.
Yeah, 'cause she actually
like, she already stole some of your meds. So don't be nice to her.
Jean
Okay?
was so dumb though. Like, why would you trust that person who obviously doesn't like you? I feel like I actually thought that was where the storyline was gonna go. Like, she was gonna get in trouble, and that Michelle was basically gonna rat her out. But maybe next season.
Yeah, that's still a possibility.
Yeah, and then Rebecca wrote something to her mom, or no, Rebecca wrote something to her mom Claire, and we see Jean forging the handwriting. So I'm like, oh my gosh.
I was trying to understand that. So Claire wrote the note, or sorry, Rebecca wrote the note to Claire. I was trying to understand what Jean was doing in that scene.
Yeah, she was basically copying Rebecca's handwriting to write her own note.
Yeah, like a different...
So, like, yeah, the note was probably completely different.
Yeah, because remember she had read that note, I think it was the last episode, I think episode 8 or something, where Rebecca read the letter saying all these, like, negative stuff to her mom that could probably, like, make her all depressed and stuff, kind of, like, destroy the whole progress that she's made.
Yeah.
So I think that's why Jean was actually rewriting it in a way that says that was like more positive. Because when she read it to her in the session, it was more positive, and Claire felt more like alleviated, like, oh, you know, my daughter, I feel better.
And Jean's like, oh, I did such a good job.
Yeah.
So she's making progress, but really she's being, you know.
Speaking of that session, did anyone else feel really uncomfortable with how Jean was talking to her?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, about her mom and how, well, you know, like, I almost wanted to burn the house down, but I didn't. I was like,
that
what?
caught
Why
my
would
eye.
you
So
tell
I'm like, okay. Yeah, so she just, oh my gosh, she's throwing in, like, really interesting little tidbits that kind of are like, okay, Jean probably burnt the house down at one point. She was probably the cause of that, so that's what I'm thinking. But also she was saying, like, oh, you know, Claire, I've been so bad to you, you know, just because my bias with my own mother. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it just felt really uncomfortable, and it's just things you don't, like, as a therapist, you wouldn't say to your patient.
It's getting way too personal. She was, you know, clearly we already know that. Getting way too personal. So going on to our favorite crazy dude, Sam, you know, he reveals that well, first off, he shows a tattoo of a phoenix. And I always thought, like, phoenix tattoos were, like, they're kind of cliche, but I kind of like them. but it's kind of like a symbol of, like, rebirth, and he wants to rebirth, and he wants to get rid of everything that, like, that's connected to Sydney, including his sessions with Jean. And Jean doesn't want this at all. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, Jean, you want this. You want him to get out of your life. You don't want to deal with him anymore. I was so confused because I felt like Jean, her whole purpose was to get Sam away from Sydney. So I was like, what is going on? Like, why are you trying to keep Sam?
My theory is maybe she likes the manipulation and she
thrives off it.
Maybe she enjoys it, and that it's not about Sydney, and she doesn't really like Sydney. Maybe she just likes messing with her patients and toying with people, and she gets a rise out of it and a thrill.
A game.
Because without Sam, why would she want Sydney anymore? There's no thrill.
Maybe it's like she doesn't have a job if she doesn't get patients. Oh my goodness.
That's what I think.
At first, I thought that. I thought, oh, like, why is she wanting to keep Sam when, you know, if she really wants to be with Sydney, like, he can go on with his life and get married or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And then, I was thinking, okay, maybe she wants to keep him because she likes the control. She likes to manipulate, like, the situation.
Yeah.
So I was like, that could be a reason
Yeah,
why.
but at the same time, she's always getting herself into hot water. So I'm like, so still, that's why I'm just like, Jean, why are you so pressed about him leaving? You're always getting into trouble with, with her. But I guess she gets off on it.
Yeah, she gets off on the, what's that thing?
The danger?
Yeah, like
the tension.
Yeah.
The adrenaline.
Yeah.
Moving on to Jean calling for Melissa. So she finds out some info on our girl Melissa. We still haven't seen Melissa, so that's something to look forward to. So she finds out where she works, I believe. So we're going to talk about that later. But
we have a comment.
Oh, yes.
So hubby Joe says Sam looks like he is going to snap soon, and he also says she wants them both. I think he means Jean wants Sydney and Sam.
For herself?
Yeah.
Sexually?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, she kind of does get off on, like, when she was, I don't know what episode it was, if it was 9 or 10.
Sam?
No, it was when she was on the couch with Sydney, and she was like, oh, so what does Sam look like?
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like she does kind of get off on knowing, like, how they were together. So I think.
And then Sydney was like, does that turn you on?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Something that stood out to me was, like, she was talking to Lauren at one point in this episode, and Lauren revealed that she's dating Daryl again. So, but Jean says something that stood out to me, she says, never judge something that you don't understand, because Lauren felt like, you know, Jean is going to judge her for going back with her ex-husband. But I think never judging something you don't understand, that stands out because we don't really know what's going on still. Like, even at the end of the series, we don't know what's going on. We still don't know the full story behind Jean and Melissa and Catherine. Well, we know a little bit about Catherine.
Yeah,
all right, they're teasing for season 2 right here. I'm watching you, Lauren. So, you know, we talked about Michelle, and they're getting like buddy all of a sudden, because Jean, she eventually, you know, fixes the harness. She comes up with a new plan for allowing Dolly to fly. But Michael confronts Alexis at one point. What did you guys think? What are you guys thinking about this? Because later on,
I don't get him either, because
he was so confusing,
and especially because of what ends up happening. I won't go there yet, but like just
we can go there right now.
So yeah, so like okay.
Oh, we're gonna go there.
Okay, well then I will go there
because I want to hear your thoughts.
So what I don't get is, okay, even before he hears about Diane Hart and everything, he goes up to her and he's like, you know, nothing will happen, but I want you. Why would he even say that? And then, like, so number one, like, okay, let's not even think about Jean for a second. Let's think about Alexis. So he's told her he doesn't want her, that nothing will happen even though he does want her. Then we fast forward to the end and he's like, you know what? I do want you. Let's do it. And he's about to kiss her. And she's like, oh, I'm seeing someone. It's like, I don't understand his logic there. Even with hearing about Diane Hart, why he would just flip so quickly, because it shouldn't be about whether he's with Jean or not. It should be about, well, I mean, that's obviously the number one thing, he's married, but it shouldn't just be that. It should also be that he's not going to, like, approach another woman and give her mixed signals like that.
And yeah, even before he found out about Diane Hart and stuff, when they were in the, what was it, the copy room or whatever, like he was telling her how the rumors, how she was actually the one who started it and everything. And I don't know, it was just really confusing the way that he expressed his feelings, saying he didn't want anything with her, especially after she started all the rumors, and then he was like, but I want you to be back in your desk. Yeah. And when she was back in her desk, he just kept on looking at her in like this sexual way of like he wanted her.
And then the shower scene?
Yes,
right,
he was masturbating.
Yeah, to her. Yeah.
I was like, what is he? I know what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so I don't get him at all. Like,
but I just think that he's just trying to get back. He knows Jean's going behind his back, so he wants to get back at her by cheating, or like, you know.
But he kind
of to even the playing field, I guess.
Yeah,
but that's like a personal thing. I know it's not like he's not gonna. It's like not so much of an image thing. That's his own personal like vendetta. See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Yeah, I completely see what you're saying too.
Yeah.
I just,
now that he knows for sure that Jean's going by like Diane, he's like, okay. She's like going behind my back, I'm gonna go behind her back.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of saw it
But
as.
even before that, though, it's like either commit to it or don't commit to the affair.
Yeah.
Like, make up your mind what you're doing.
Yeah, little too late because he got rejected.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's always had feelings for Alexis. Like, he's always has. He just never acted upon it because he didn't want to feel guilty. But then when he found out everything that Jean was doing with the whole Diane or whatever, that's when I feel like the switch turned on and was like, well, if she's going to be cheating, why can't I act upon my feelings towards her?
Now, here's the other thing. How did he even know that she was cheating from that information? So I think that it's deeper than that. I think that he may or may not have realized she was cheating, but I think hearing that name was finally that trigger that made him realize even if she wasn't cheating on him, she was up to no good. And that's where it kind of clicked for me, that the show really isn't, it might not be about her cheating. It might be about her manipulation. And I think that's what he finally realized. Not so much she was cheating, but maybe, oh, she's manipulating her patients again.
One thing that I felt that was coming up a lot in the show in these last 2 episodes was like the word commitment. So I felt that the whole, like, I do think like something about her, you know, and not being able to like stay in a relationship. So I felt like her commitment was a really big thing. So when he found out maybe the Diane thing, I feel like that has happened before, that this isn't her first time creating this persona. So I'm thinking, what if she's done this multiple times and that's how somehow it's connected to Melissa and how she got into wherever she was at.
Yeah.
Did you guys get the feeling that she also had an affair with Melissa too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the bracelet.
Yeah.
So.
The way she was acting, it was very similar. It seemed like Melissa's different than Sydney, but it was the same kind of, manipulation and,
Hopefully Sydney doesn't turn out like Melissa. Maybe Melissa might have been a completely different person.
Yeah, that's true.
But also the build-up with Michael's character, I think also the dinner scene when Nancy was brought over. Before that, we also find out that Nancy has been paying for the apartment, not Jean. But Michael doesn't know that the apartment still is in Jean's possession or Nancy's possession, whatever. But also during the dinner scene, Michael's getting really annoyed because he's learning all this new stuff from Nancy. He's like, oh, I didn't know you did Cinderella. You want to be in Cinderella. I didn't know you almost got into Harvard. He's learning like these things that a spouse should kind of know about their significant other.
Yeah, why wouldn't
Especially
she?
all that time.
I think that was a lot of build up. And like the whole time, Nancy, she's a shady mother, okay? Because she was definitely shading her daughter. She was like, oh, Dolly, did they teach you how to curtsy? And she's like, Dolly was like, she checked her grandma. She was like, we bow. Gender norms. Bye, grandma.
And the hair too, the comments she
Oh
was
my
making.
god!
Yeah.
In the next episode,
Yeah.
oh my god, yeah, I was kind of like, okay, she's kind of kooky mom, misunderstood. And now Jean's mom, I don't think I like her. I don't think I like her so much.
The dinner scene, I think what I got out of that was that Jean's mom knew a lot more than what we figured she would know. Even though she pushes her mom away, now I think that her mom is the only person who actually knows Jean.
I think so too. And I think that her mom knows a lot of Jean's secrets that no one knows. That's what makes them obviously not close, but the fact that Jean doesn't like her because she knows so much about her.
I agree.
Later on, Jean and Sydney meet up again because Sydney's she's been thirsty for Jean in this episode. She tries to get a hold of her, but eventually they meet up because she sends her a text like, okay, Sam is crazy. And we find out that Sam is engaged to Emily. And I'm like, oh my God, they just got back together. Like, how long has this been going on? Like, that is kind of crazy. I would kind of be like giving him the weird side look. And that there's apparently like, there's going to be an engagement party. But I also liked what Sydney said about like she's a barista, and I like that what she said. I forget if she said this to Jean. If you guys are gonna help me out, but like I like this theme of the barista. It's like you can't just come and get coffee whenever you want to. She said that to Jean.
Yeah, she did.
And that really
in
stood
the
out to
car.
me because I don't know. I'm a barista, so I know how it is. It's like you can't just come over and get coffee and not. You know what I'm trying to say?
And
Like
I
I
think
really like the symbolism with that, the barista and Sydney's character and how she's being manipulated and taken advantage of.
She even said in that speech that she was like, you're a stranger who comes into a coffee shop. I don't know you at all. And I thought that scene was pretty
She still
powerful.
doesn't know her. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, it almost felt like it was, in that scene, for some reason, I could tell their age difference too. And it almost seemed like Jean was treating her more like she was either her therapist or that she was Sydney's mother or older sister. Like it just, in that moment, I felt a power difference that Jean was like kind of up here and Sydney was down here, and Sydney was more like, a little, not a little kid, but just, a younger person who was struggling and trying to make sense of this crazy woman in her life.
But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. That really stood out to me, and I thought that was like really well acted out. And I'm like, yes, stand up to Jean, please, Sydney, because Jean needs to hear it. Oh, she's gonna hear it though. So we also little foreshadowing. Sid is reading Alexis's story, but it says by Diane Hart, and I'm like, okay, Jean,
Why?
why would you do that? Why are you doing that to someone like? Could find anyone on the internet story, but you got Alexis's.
I think the point of that was because that story kind of revealed stuff, and so that's why she had sent it to her through message like, oh, this is for you to get to know me better, because I felt like Sydney was kind of like, I don't know anything about you, and she can't find any of her writings since she's a journalist.
So,
What?
I have something to say about that. She should have, I mean, okay, this is a therapist who rewrites her notes. She writes a lot of notes. She rewrites letters. She should have just written her own story. Because obviously Sydney's trying to snoop around and find out about her. She's been very, like, blatantly honest about this. Why would you take a story that is probably published, as we find out, and just take it and say, yep, this is me, when it's so easy now to just kind of copy and paste the words? And she sent it to her, like, over text. So it was right there. Copy, paste, Google. Oh, my God, this is not Diane.
Or at least turn it into her own words, like plagiarism.
Girl.
Like,
at
take
its
the
finest.
scene. And
Do a better Google search.
Yeah.
Like short stories of themes of abandonment and mistreatment.
just-
like
I mean,
Yeah.
even if she had just taken the story and, like, what happened in the scene and just rewrote it in her own words, she probably would have been good.
But this episode comes to an end because we got to get into the next episode with the play. It's a little cute scene with Dolly as Peter Pan, but Nancy gets pissed in the scene, and that's where I start not liking what's her name, Nancy, Jean's mom. I'm just gonna call her Jean's mom because I clearly have trouble saying Nancy. But also we also find out that Jean gets after the performance, Jean gets the voicemail from the detective that Allison is missing. So that brings us to episode 10, Black Barn. And can someone tell us, like, because we were talking about this previously, like, why is this episode called Black Barn? I would love to know why it's called Black Barn.
My only theory is that for some reason, when she goes to her mom's and she's up in the attic digging around, I don't know if that's why they called it Black Barn, but that's not a barn, so I don't know.
Is that a car? Like, there's a black car. Is that? I don't know.
yeah,
I'm not a car person, unfortunately. That is our band name, Black Barn.
Black Barn.
What happened?
I mean, I have a theory.
Please tell.
But it's just gonna skip until the very end. So,
Okay, we're gonna
once we
we'll
explain
get there.
everything else.
Let's do this. So Jean is talking to a therapist, and it's so nice, and it's her boss. It's so nice seeing Jean actually being the therapy and not the therapist, the patient. The therapy. This is my new dictionary by Oliver Drennan. So yeah, and what did you guys think of, Jean lying to her boss and like being like, oh, everything's fine. Clearly, it's not.
Some people, so I have this theory that if you're going to do therapy, you have to be honest with yourself. And I don't think she's honest enough with herself to get anything out of therapy. I mean, I don't know if she's required to be there, but obviously there's something about her they don't trust, that they're making her do therapy, if they're making her. I just kind of assumed that was the situation based on how they were, treating her like she had some issues.
I'm ready for her to get fired. I want Jean to get fired, honestly. Find a new career, please. Maybe an actor. Maybe.
She'd be great at that.
Follow in her daughter's footsteps. Well, Dolly's clearly following in her mom's, as being an actor. But the investigator comes in at one point, and he starts questioning Jean. And of course, Jean's lying, and he wants her notes from Allison. So of course, Jean has to be like, oh, well, gotta give him some new notes. So she eventually gives him the new notes, I believe.
Yeah.
And,
Was
my
it just
God.
And burns
me
the old
who
ones.
felt that Jean was very suspicious?
During
Like,
that.
during that.
She
I
seemed-
felt like she looked suspicious, and even the detective was like, "Oh,
Getting onto her? Or
yeah,
coming onto her?
yeah, because
Not
even,
coming onto her.
even when she didn't want to like give her notes, the detective was like, "Well, I mean, we could get a warrant for them."
Yeah.
and so that's why she was like, "No, like, I'll cooperate," and type of stuff. And so I felt like she kind of looked guilty, in a way.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of like showcasing.
To me, every time, and including that scene, when she gets nervous, she seems to talk faster. And I noticed that she uses the word look. Look, you gotta believe me. Look, no, look. This is like look seems to be that key word for her. And not just with the detective, but when her boss was saying later on, I think, in that episode, that he thought she might have some boundary issues and gets too close and there might be problems, she got that same tone and fast-paced tone of it, talk about her.
And we also find out some more about Allison from Tom, because Jean runs into Tom, our favorite character, not really. And he reveals that Allison lied to him too. But we're going to talk about the last, like, because something just doesn't add up.
No.
It doesn't add up. So I'm like, okay, well, my viewpoint is different, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So we already talked about Michael and Alexis and how he's happy she's back, but we already know how that ends.
Wah, wah.
Jean, this is an interesting scene when Jean actually invites Sid over to her apartment. She finds drugs, but they get onto this whole thing. This is where they find out about the engagement party for Emily and Sam. And oh my gosh, I just dropped my phone. Oh my god, Jean, stay away from my phone. Don't delete any of my contacts. But oh my god, this is where I'm going crazy because Jean wants to go to the engagement party with Sydney, and I'm like,
I don't get that either. Unless she likes the thrill.
She likes
Yeah.
the thrill. She likes
she's getting
it.
off on this. Oh my god, and of course they actually go there, and she, they don't want to be seen by Sam, but they're kind of sitting far away. She takes, I'm gonna get a picture.
She doesn't want to be seen, but she goes as close as possible.
She's like, my phone's dead. She takes Sydney's phone. And so she goes and, takes a picture. But the reason why she did that was to delete the photo from Instagram of her and Sydney. So I'm like,
Now,
you shady girl.
she only deleted the Instagram picture, though.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't delete it from her photos. Good catch.
She only deleted one picture,
Yeah.
and so I'm assuming it was Instagram.
Yeah.
Good check. But also she eventually urges Sydney to talk to Sam because she doesn't think, she's like, Emily's playing Jane. Oh, she's not, or no, Sydney says that, but she's like, I don't think, he's good for her. I think he's good for you. And it's just really surprising because this whole time she wanted to I'm still like so, but like you guys said, she's probably just doing this because it's all a game.
Yeah,
To manipulate everyone to do what she wants just because she's like a puppet master.
I don't think she really cares about anyone except herself. And I think she just gets a thrill off of screwing with people, basically. Everyone. Like every single person in her life, except maybe her daughter, she is screwing with. And I think that's all what it comes down to. She didn't care about Sydney. And just like the whole time, Sam was saying, oh, well, don't worry about, I'm not worried about this other girl. Obviously he didn't know it was Jean. He thought it was someone named Diane. But the whole time Sam's been saying, oh, well, don't worry about the other girl. Sydney's going to lose interest as soon as this other girl has interest in her.
Yeah.
But I think it's the other way around. I don't think Jean can really, truly care about anyone. And that's the only reason why Sydney maybe is so interested, too.
At first, I was like, why would she want Sam and Sydney together after she's been trying so hard to kind of be with Sydney? But again, it goes back to her playing the game and liking the thrill of it. And I think it all comes down to having this second persona and trying to like meddle into other people's lives because she's unhappy with hers. So she wants to find this escape type of life.
Yeah, I was kind of having a theory. It's kind of changed now by the end of the episode that like Jean was maybe trying to get rid of both Sydney and Sam. Maybe she wanted them back together because maybe she's like, okay, well maybe I need to stop this for a second and get my life together, especially after the play. Like it seemed to go well. It didn't go well with her mom, but like she was with Michael. She was there for Dolly. So maybe I was kind of like, okay, maybe she's doing this to, just get out of this messy situation. Maybe so she can get into a new situation. But that's what I was thinking. Now, not so much anymore. But anyways, this is where Sydney... Oh, there's also a dream sequence. This is another reason why I kind of thought that, because there's a quick little dream sequence of their house, Michael and Jean's house, but we see Michael in the kitchen, and then Sydney comes. And then I'm like, okay, who is this girl? And then we see it's Sydney's face. But I thought that it was... Sydney eventually turns into Jean. She's like, oh, I'm surprised we're still in this house. And I kind of thought that was because maybe Jean's turning back to herself and not Sydney, the part of Sydney that is her. I know this. Hope I'm making sense to y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think, so to me, I didn't take it like a dream since as soon as we cut back to Jean, it was still reality. I took it like a continuation, and I almost wonder if it was the filmmaker's way of trying to tell us something. Maybe just trying to say that they're more, like just trying to, I don't know, confirm how similar they really are.
Oh, okay.
That's
interesting.
Because otherwise,
I like that.
because they've done dream sequences where it was actually someone dreaming, but this time it didn't seem like someone was actually asleep. It seemed like they were awake the whole time and that they were just showing this other you know, almost like an alternate reality.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to reality. But I think they're just trying to mirror the two characters.
Yeah, and we didn't see, she said, like, oh, go talk to Sam. And we didn't see Sam and Sydney ever get back, or, like, talk.
I don't think so. I don't think they did.
I would have remembered, but.
When it came to that scene where, like, they were in the kitchen and stuff, and she kind of went, I have a theory, but it kind of did blow up. Like, it changed because of the way it ended.
Same.
But at first, I kind of thought it was, like, Sydney was, like, her alternate persona. I felt like, you know, I think, Psycho? Like, how he has, like, an
Norman
alternate...
Bates?
Or Norman Bates, and, like, all of those, like... how they have another persona in there. They what's that one disease, but
bipolar?
Alternate personality.
Alternate personality, where I thought that maybe Sydney was living inside of Jean. So that's what I kind of got out of it, because when it switched to it actually being Jean, I was like, well, maybe it's two people in one. But then it kind of just I don't think it is.
Interesting.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
That's what I felt when I saw that. But then, the ending kind of.
That ending
didn't work out. It was a mess, and we're gonna get to that. But you know, Jean. Fast forward to Jean. She's burning the notes. Allison's like the actual notes, I believe. And then she sees a car parked outside her house, and she's like, okay, this black barn. I don't know. I'm gonna call the black barn car. I don't know. So I'm like, okay, this is clearly the detective. So I'm like, okay, this is the detective, right?
That's what I thought, too.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So she goes back in. She's like, I'm being watched. But this is a scene that I really liked in this particular episode, was when Michael stood up to Sydney. He's like, are you effing kidding me? Are you kidding me? You don't care about anything but yourself? You're a manipulator? Like, what did you guys think of him finally standing up? Like, throughout the whole entire season, 10 episodes, finally, Michael, like, we're seeing, like, him enraged, and I'm here for it. Jean's like, oh, what did she say? Allison's gone missing. She tried to switch it around before.
She tried to play it off like she was lying about something else, and that's what she wasn't
about
being.
Allison.
Yeah,
and that they're being watched.
Yeah, and the whole thing is that she, even when he's confronting her, telling her he knows these things, she's still trying to talk her way out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, just
Let me talk. Honey, baby.
If she cared so much about her marriage, then why is she doing all these crazy things?
I don't think she cares at all.
No, I don't think she does either. I think she just doesn't want to lose him because he's like her, I don't know, the stable parts of her life. And so she doesn't want to lose that. But at the same time, she doesn't really care about it either.
Yeah, and a huge... Oh, sorry.
I thought that they made Jean kind of look crazy in this scene, because it was like, oh, the car was right there, and he was like, there's no car.
Yeah.
And then after, like, he blew up on her, I was like,
I forgot about that.
She deserved it. Like, I'm sorry, Jean deserved to get
and
like
also
that.
we found out that he didn't even know that 309 still existed. That was in her possession.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, because that's huge. Like, my spouse has a secret apartment. What's going on with that?
You don't know what she's doing in that apartment, you know?
Yeah, you find that out. It's like, what are you doing?
Clearly, there's history in that apartment.
Yeah.
So, and he knows what went down, or, you know, that particular time when she had that apartment.
Which we still don't know.
I know. Season 2. We're going to get it Netflix, right?
And I think he even brought up Melissa in that scene, too. And that he thinks that she was manipulating her.
Oh. Yes. And that's what we thought, too. We brought up that theory, like, okay, Jean's the crazy one. And we see Melissa. She meets up with Melissa at her job, I believe. And Melissa looks scared, frightened, terrified. And then, like, they kind of make up. And also, before that, she went to her mom's. She got the bracelet that apparently Melissa gave to her. And she lies. She did a little slick number when she was talking. She was like,
yeah,
Did
so
you
she
catch
can
that?
notice that.
I never take it off.
oh my God,
I was like,
Jean.
come on.
Okay.
But then the necklace. What is up with that
Oh, yeah.
necklace? I
I was
never
waiting
got
for-
the answer for the necklace.
Did she lose the necklace?
Like, I felt like that would have kind of been a little bit more.
It would have
I
come
don't know.
back at
I feel
least.
like because that bracelet represents her relationship with Melissa, maybe that one represents her relationship with Sydney.
That makes sense.
Oh my God.
Boom. I just connected the dots.
I'm bold. Okay. But yeah, my quick theory, like, I think that she's trying to get, because I want to know what you guys real quick think about why she's connecting with Melissa. I think she's kind of like, maybe she's going to frame Melissa and make it seem like Melissa, because everyone thinks Melissa's crazy. Maybe she's gonna frame Melissa into being the reason why Allison's disappearing. Maybe she's trying to cover her tracks.
I could definitely see that, but I also think it's because Jean has to be the puppet master. And
That's
so,
what the show should have been called.
Yeah, puppets.
Puppet master.
And so she has to, as soon as this woman is out, she has to get back in her life and go and try to control her again. I think she that's her sick desire of all her patients.
Because no one else is on her side right now, especially what went down with Michael. And then Michael is trying to contact Catherine, and we don't know if he does or not, but apparently he does. We didn't get any other information in this episode.
I have a really random theory I just thought of. What if Dolly's not really Jean's daughter? And somehow it's Catherine's? And Jean somehow messed with Catherine so much that she got custody of Dolly, and so she kind of hijacked this family, and that's why he keeps trying to contact her.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Did you just think of that right now?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That could very be well it. But also, that's really good.
I would believe that.
The only thing I disagree with that slightly is just because I remember Cindy saw a picture of her and Dolly side by side, I think, and she was like, "Oh, your niece looks so much like you," so maybe that.
Yeah.
But I love that theory. That theory is amazing. I will not forget that theory. Good job.
We'll see what happens.
I love hosting with these queens. They're amazing. They open up my mind so much, teach me so much about the show that I thought I knew about, but I don't. So we got to wrap up soon because, unfortunately, it sucks. But, okay, let's just get to the final scene where Jean does the bully speech. And I brought this up in the introduction. And what did you guys think of this scene? Because I think, personally, everything Jean was saying in that speech about bullies, about them wanting power, but really they're trying to control themselves, people who've been bullied become the bully typically. I feel like everything she was saying was about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And then even before she said it's not really about other people, it's about themselves if they're trying to control people. Even before she said that, I kind of felt like that's where she was going with it.
Yeah. And also how she said that once you're bullied and then you become the bully, you want that power. So I felt like she was talking about herself. So somehow maybe in the past she was bullied and now she's become kind of like this bully who wants and likes the power that comes with it. I wonder if maybe her father has something to do with her past, because we don't know about her biological father, Jean's. So we don't know about her childhood that much either. So I'm just really pushing for that second season. But throughout this speech, we see all these interesting scenes that are really leaving us on a cliffhanger. We see Tom, he's going to the exact same black car that was parked outside. And is it Allison in the back seat? So, yeah.
I think so.
What was that about?
And I think he's been lying the whole time.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, well, Allison was lying, but then he was lying too. So, oh my
They
God.
probably were both lying.
But where are they going?
No. And do you guys remember
black
when
barn?
they? That was my theory. That was my theory.
Sorry.
That
sorry.
in the black barn, that's where he's taking her. But do you guys remember that one time where someone knocked on the door and we thought Sydney was knocking on the apartment 309? I bet you it was Tom.
Oh my God, I didn't think of him.
Yeah,
How did
because
he
we
know?
never found out who
We didn't.
who
That was
knocked on that door.
That was a scary scene too.
because she checked on the peephole or whatever.
That's so
and
true.
then it was never Sydney. So I think that was
Yeah, it
Tom,
had
and
to be.
he got her there.
Yeah.
What if Tom's really the puppet master over Allison, and he's the one who's basically, even though she's lying, what if he's the one who's pushing her to tell the lies? So that could be, especially if, I don't know, or it could just be that she was passed out from drugs in the back seat and he did nothing to her. But
Other scenes that happen, we see the detective actually going to 309, and previously Jean, she got all of her personal items like pictures, but she forgot her picture of her mom.
Yeah.
So the detective's gonna get in contact with Miss Nancy, who's not on good terms with Jean. And also Sam is seen entering Sid's apartment because we see him with Stevie, the dog. And we also see I'm like, where's Sid? Where's she? She's coming down the staircase.
Yeah.
My heart was racing. She comes into the auditorium. Michael and Dolly are there. She sees Jean. They meet. They have eye contact. And Jean smiles, right? And Sydney's kind of smiling too.
She smirked at her.
That's why I think that Sydney's different from Melissa. I don't know. I think
They're gonna take over the world.
I think I think they're both the same people. I think that's what it is. They're both manipulative. They both have to have control. Sydney needs control over Sam, even though she claims she has no feelings for him, the same way that Jean needs control over Michael.
I think so too.
Oh my god.
I feel like they're gonna make a plan.
Oh my god. Guys,
some kind of plan.
We need a season 2 Netflix.
I know.
Yes,
Everyone watching,
please.
tweet Netflix. Send them letters, write letters, email. We need this. We need to know what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Any final predictions, guys? Oh my god.
I kind of think Allison's gonna die.
Yeah.
Why?
I agree with that.
Oh my god.
Sadly, I did like
we'll
her.
see the
but
black
I have
barn.
no clue what's gonna happen, honestly. Rachel, do you have any predictions?
Dolly is Catherine's.
Oh my god, yeah, that is pretty amazing.
Alexis and Michael will finally sleep together.
Yeah, because Alexis, we don't know really what happened to her after. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Oh my goodness, guys. Ah!
Because she knew about Sydney, and at least we thought that she knew about Sydney and Jean because she was at the same place performing that they were at the table. So when she saw Sydney, she didn't seem like she recognized her. I guess it could be because she maybe didn't really get a good close-up look of her. Or maybe she really didn't know when we thought she was seeing them at that same cafe and she didn't.
Yeah. Well, I still think she's going to manipulate the heck out of Melissa.
Yeah.
She's going to maybe frame her because she can't get in contact with Tom, Jean. So I have no clue what's going to happen with Tom or Allison. Like, I don't know the purpose that's going on other than Tom being the drug dealer. Oh
And
my
connected
god.
to
Like
Sydney.
I said, so many unanswered questions.
Oh my gosh. Is there any last minute things in the chat?
Well, hubby Joe says Jean has commitment issues. She does not know what she wants. I agree.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's been such an amazing first season of Gypsy. Season 1 on Netflix.
This has been fun, you
It
guys.
has. I've been having the time of my life. This is so bittersweet.
Hopefully there's a second season.
Oh my gosh.
Hopefully.
It has to. Guys, always keep the discussion with us. Why don't you ladies introduce yourselves one last final time?
Teardrop.
Introduce. Say goodbye. Tell them where they can find you.
My name is Karina Vargas. You guys can find me everywhere on Twitter and Instagram at KarinaXVRGS.
And I'm Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Rach Goodman or on Facebook at Rachel Ann Goodman.
Yes, guys, tweet us, leave us comments, questions, but don't be like Alexis and send us naughty pics. You can find me on all social media platforms at Ollie Dreamer. Thank you guys so much again. Bye, guys.
We'll miss you.
Bye.
Bye, Gypsies.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Rock on, Gypsies!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.